Do you want to learn about data privacy, whether you're trying to get into the field or you just want to know about it? Anyways, if your answer is yes, you are welcome to the right place. Welcome to Data Privacy and AI Governance 101 with Ubongabasi. Let us call this lesson 3. I think we're on the 3rd video already. Thank you all so much for all your comments, your videos, your engagements. Please keep engaging, like, share, comment on YouTube, and just ask your questions. If you are trying to get into the field, reach out to me, ask me questions. I'm really happy to answer them. Today we will be talking about a topic, guess, types of data. You're right. So like categories of data. You might say that data is data, right? But according to different laws, you have to categorize data in different ways to be able to segment it and, apply the law according to each jurisdiction, right? So let us talk about data. The very first type of data that we'll be talking about today is personal data. What is personal data? Personal data simply means any type of data that can link back to an individual. So identify an individual, whether that is directly or indirectly. For example, my name is Ubongabasi. Even if you don't know me, if you hear my name, you can search on LinkedIn. That links directly back to me. You can search on Facebook. You'd be able to find me. My phone number, for example, my email address, my physical address, and even my IP address. Just basically anything that ties back to an individual is personal data. The second type of data we'll be talking about today is sensitive personal data. So what is sensitive personal data? That is simply a subset of personal data, but it is sensitive. Why do we call it sensitive? We call it sensitive because if you misuse it, you can cause harm to the person. Different types of sensitive personal data would be biometric data, for example. You cannot change your iris. So let's say you're using data from your eyes. You can't change that, right? You can change, your thumbprint. Let's say you're using biometric data from your thumbprint, or whether you're using genetic data, right? You can't change that. So that's really sensitive. So your race, your ethnic origin, your beliefs, some people would hurt other people because of their beliefs, your political opinions, all of those are classified as sensitive personal data. And according to law, you pay special attention to them. So you protect them specially. The third one is financial data. What is financial data? Think about your account number. Think about the numbers on your cards. So whether it's credit cards, whether it is debit card, think about your bank logins. Some laws actually classify your username and passwords into like your insurance policy, like financial data. So anything that ties back, so the simple way of remembering it is anything that ties back to your finances, you would refer to those as financial data. The next type of data we want to talk about is children's data. Basically, this just relates any data that relates to a person who's under the ages of either 16 or 13, depending on the jurisdiction and how the law defines who a child is. The law pays special attention to it. You have to be very careful when you're collecting children's data and follow the required rules and regulations of that jurisdiction. The way to actually, in my opinion, really do it is to set a high standard for it. So let's say that if you're in a country that does not have strong laws as it has to do with children data, look to another jurisdiction that has strong laws as it has to do with children's data and just use that template to solidify your process. It's just my advice. That's the way I would do it if I were you. So let's go on to the next one. The next type of data that I want to talk about today is biometric data. Biometric data. So where you use your retina for scans, you use, your thumbprint, you use your voice. Some people use their voice. Some people actually even use their genetical code somehow. That is biometric data. That is really, it's actually a subset of, it is sensitive personal data, and you've got to be very careful with that. The law pays special attention to it. So if you're handling biometric data, you need to look into the jurisdiction that you're handling to ensure that you're complying with the appropriate laws and regulations. Another subset of data that we're dealing with today is pseudonymized and anonymized data. Pseudonymized data just basically means that, let's say that you take my name, for example, and change that into code. You can find a way to link it back, and link it back to me, right? At some point, if you want to do that, unscramble it and you link it back to me. Now, anonymous data, on the other hand, you take my name and you take my bank account number and you take my phone number, for example, and remove every trace of anything that can lead back to me. That way you cannot piece that data back to me. That is an example of anonymized data. So the next type of data that we want to talk about is employee data. Employee data just simply means data that employers collect in a bid to administer the employee contract. So let's say like the names of the employees, the phone numbers of the employees, the addresses of the employees, payroll details, police checks, clearance, those kinds of things. Just basically anything that an employer would basically use to identify an employee. It could also consist of like evaluations in the course of the employment and whatever the employer has to say about how the employee is doing, that kind of thing. So, well, I hope today's class has been useful. The next class we will be talking about, should I tell you? Common principles of data privacy. I hope you're looking forward to it. See you next week. Leave your questions. If you have a particular question, please do contact me. Feel free to comment, share, subscribe. Thank you so very much. Bye for now.